Hello, everyone. I'm going to make the bold assertion that most people are not intellectually curious and have never been. Now, obviously, there are exceptions. I'm not talking about everyone. In fact, since I'm talking on Book Talk, the people who view my videos are going to be more in the intellectually curious camp, but I'm just talking about people in general, the average person. Because a lot of people talk about how people don't read today. They're on the internet. They're watching television. They don't read. But I would argue that even when people did read more, they didn't read because they were intellectually curious about the content. In many cases, they read because it was the thing to do. And most people didn't read things that were overly complex. You know, they read magazines, sports magazines, um, literature, a very what you might call shallow derivative genre literature. And I'm not saying that there isn't value in that, but I'm just saying is that they read things that weren't very deep in a lot of cases because writers who have been truly innovative, truly and who plunge, the depths of the soul. Writers who are truly poetic, creative, who explore new territories about the human condition. They have never been, for the most part, popular. For example, Edgar Allan Poe, who's a writer that I greatly admire, he was not popular during his lifetime. He became a fad later, but not during his lifetime. And or someone like H.P. Lovecraft, for example, was not popular in his lifetime. And that's because I think people get caught up, and people don't pursue. Most people will not pursue content that is not directly in front of them. That they won't seek out things that aren't directly in their environment, that they have to go, that it doesn't come to them. People are lazy in that sense. People are lazy because they don't want to have to work hard in order to enjoy a piece of literature, and they're also lazy in the sense that they won't seek things out. And even when it comes to the writers who I do think are good, who were popular, for example, someone like Lord Byron or Dickens, a lot of times they weren't popular because of their writing. It was usually because of a cult of personality. So, for example, you have somebody like Lord Byron. Now, Lord Byron is taken seriously as a very serious poet today, but in his lifetime, he was read not primarily because he was a great writer, but it was because he was seen as a dashing romantic hero. And that's why people liked him, especially that's the reason why women liked him. It had nothing to do with the quality of his writing per se. And kind of like Dickens as well. Dickens was enormously successful in his lifetime. However, a lot of that had to do with cult of personality, how he was a charismatic, legendary figure. He gave a lot of lectures, and it had more to do with that in some ways than his actual writing. Now, of course, later his writing was later recognized as being actually good, but that's not why he was popular. Or you get to take someone like Charles Bukowski. Now, I'm personally, from what I've read, and I haven't read a lot, I'm not a huge fan of Charles Bukowski at this point. But does anybody think that he would have been nearly as popular if he had been a normal person? If he spoke like a normal person, if he had a well-adjusted life? No, people liked him because he was eccentric, because he had a drinking problem, because he personified, the drunk, self-loathing, cynical writer. If he'd been a normal person, people wouldn't have paid attention to him. So a lot of times people will only read complex literature if they get caught up in some kind of cultural storm where it is the thing to do because that's what everybody else is doing, not because they're intellectually curious and they're seeking things out. And I think that things have always been that way to a certain degree. They've gotten worse over time, but I think human beings have always been that way because if they hadn't been all that, if they hadn't always been that way, then I think that you would have seen these other writers from the past. I think they would have been far more successful than they were. So the fact that they weren't successful, I think demonstrates that people have always been that way to a certain degree. And again, that's not to say that everybody is like that, but many people are just simply not intellectually curious.